Welcome back to In the Kitchen with Grace. Today I am doing a fig ginger brown sugar snack cake. I love this recipe. It's perfect if you're feeling snackish and it's very versatile. I'm using figs today, but you could use any kind of dried fruit, blueberries, cherries, prunes, dates. So you could interchange any of those ingredients. I'm going to use dried figs today. I had a bag of figs to use up, and I had buttermilk I needed to get used up. I got a container here, and I had done some recipes a couple weeks ago. Totally forgot I had these ingredients on hand, and I love to get creative and use up the stuff that we still have in the fridge and pantry. So I have about a cup's worth of chopped up dried figs, and I'm going to put all of the ingredients and the steps in the description below. We are going to start out with some flour, and we want 2.5 cups of flour. Working in a smaller counter space today. I have honey balsamic glazed ribs going in the slow cooker right here, and it smells so good. Right, there's 2. Grab my 1/2 cup. Okay. Then we are going to do 1.5 cups of brown sugar. Now, if you want to use dark brown sugar, you certainly can. It adds a little more flavor. I just have light brown sugar, so that's what I'm using. You do not need to pack your brown sugar for this recipe. Just keep using this one here. It's about 1.5 cups. Okay, and then we are going to do a stick of butter. You want your butter cold, but semi-soft. Do not melt it in the microwave. You want it to be about room temperature, maybe still slightly chilled, because we're going to cut it into our flour and sugar mixture. Before I do the butter, you guys, I forgot to do my vanilla. I'm going to do a teaspoon of vanilla right now. Almost a teaspoon. I ran out of vanilla, y'all. You can interchange your vanilla for imitation almond flavor. You could do, you could even do like an orange. You can interchange your vanilla a little bit. So don't feel like you have to stick to that as well. I happen to be out, so I'm gonna interchange mine with some almond flavoring. Okay, we are gonna mix this together. I'm gonna kind of break up any chunks of brown sugar, kind of pre-mix this together. What I love about this recipe, no eggs. I know, I bake all the time and I'm huge into eggs and baking recipes with eggs. There's no eggs in this one. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut our stick of butter into smaller chunks. I pre-cut it. I feel like it blends a lot easier. Okay. And then with my knife, I am going to kind of just cut it into my flour and sugar. What we're going to do is we're going to end up taking about a cup's worth of this topping crumbles. You'll see as it comes together here, and put it aside in a bowl for the crumbly topping for our cake. This recipe, I call it almost a tea cake style. It goes really good, you know, when you're just got a little sweet craving, not for chocolate, that rare time when you're not really wanting something chocolatey, but it's got a little hint of sweetness, a little bit of fruit. You could totally add nuts to this recipe. Walnuts, pecans, go really good with it. I have done an upside down fig and walnut and rosemary cake before. That is really good. I don't have the recipe for that one up on my channel yet. I'll have to make that in the near future. Okay. Take my spoon, give this a good mix. You want to make sure your butter crumbles are all the way through your mixture here. Okay, we're going to take about a cup's worth out. Put that in the bowl. Okay, now we are going to add in the other 1 teaspoon of vanilla. In my case, I'm doing almond extract. It's totally fine. And then we are going to do then we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of baking soda. If you are newer to baking and you're like, well, what about the eggs? The buttermilk helps your batter to rise while it's baking, so you don't need the eggs. I'm going to add in a little pinch of ginger. I'm literally just adding in a pinch, probably like 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'm going to give this a little mixture. Before I add in my buttermilk, I want to make sure that baking soda has kind of worked its way through. Ooh, it smells so good. Okay, now we are going to do 1 cup of buttermilk. If you do not have buttermilk on hand, you just saw this recipe and you're like, I want to make that. Sounds amazing. Anytime you need to replace buttermilk in a recipe, you can do homemade. You can do 1 tablespoon of white vinegar in like a measuring cup. Fill the rest of the measuring cup up with regular milk. Let it sit for a good 3 to 5 minutes, and that will replace buttermilk for you in your recipe. Little baking trick there. I had this recipe once, and we were down south. I have family from down south, and we were drinking sweet tea with it. That's why I feel like it's a tea cake sort of recipe. It pairs so good with sweet tea. Make sure you mix this in really well. You want that buttermilk really incorporated. Okay, I am going to grab my figs. Okay, I'm just going to dump them in. I cut my dried figs into smaller bite-sized pieces. All right, I'm gonna go grab my baking dish and grease it up quick, and then we will get this going in the oven. All right, I have greased my baking dish, my cake pan, with some Crisco. Anytime you're gonna do a cake that does not have frosting to go on top, I really like to use Crisco. Grease up that pan really nice. That way, when you go to flip it and take it out, it's just got a nice, even top to it. You're not missing any chunks because they got stuck in your cake pan. So feel free to grease liberally because this cake does not have any frosting. It doesn't need it. It is so good on its own. Kind of pat this down a little bit. I am using, I call it a catch release bake pan. It's got a little latch there, and so when you release it, the outside opens up and comes right off the top or the bottom of your pan. You could totally make this in a square baking dish as well. It doesn't have to be round. Again, it's snack cake. This is about just a nice, light, tasty, sweet treat. Nothing fancy. All right, she is spread out even. I'm gonna grab that crumbly topping mixture that we had set aside. We're just gonna dust the top with it. The little chunks of butter will melt, kind of give it a nice golden top. Just like so. Perfect. I'm gonna bake this in the oven at 350 degrees. For about 20-25 minutes. I'll do that toothpick test in the center. Toothpick comes out clean. It's fully cooked. If it comes out with a little bit of batter still on it, it needs to cook for a couple more minutes. Keep an eye on it because you don't want the top to burn. I'll show y'all what this delicious cake looks like when it's all ready. Oh my, this is the Big Ginger Brown Sugar Snack Cake. It baked perfectly. It smells so good. I'm gonna go ahead and cut a slice. There we go. There we have it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Be sure to find us on Pinterest in the Kitchen with Grace 1, where you can save all of your favorite recipes and use them for your meal planning later. Be sure to follow us on Facebook as well. Thank you guys so much for sharing our recipes with your family and friends. Hope you all love this one.